let's talk about this next team. It's the Toronto Defiant. Again, Baroy is going to be on the show this Sunday, so make sure to tune into that. And then I will at least bump him up like 3-4 spots in my power rankings after that conversation. So both Joe and I have the Defiant at 14. Yiska puts the Defiant at 13. Yiska, you put him slightly above where Joe and I are put him. Why the skip here? Why do you think you favor them slightly higher than us?
I don't quite have the pictures in mind. Which team would be worse that you didn't judge to be worse? But I would say, I think the Defiant are just solid. You know, like they like. I agree. I think they could be worse than this. This is just a likely placement for me.
Yep.
I think they have good pieces. I think they might only like the pickup of Beast Halo is a little bit strange to me, especially because he doesn't have a backup. And their travel schedule doesn't allow for one that well. So I'm mildly concerned about that. But other than that, I think it honestly, it's much more likely that they will finish lower than high than 13.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like, and I've said this before. I said this basically as soon as they locked in the roster, that this is a team that's going to sell a lot of jerseys, and a lot of people are going to overvalue simply because they love the names on this roster. And from that perspective, and from a team, that's kind of built for homestands, I think that this is, a really fine roster. But I think that there's only two players that I actually trust to put up decent performances, and that's Surefour and Agilities. Like, you've got Beast, right, who's 19 given. I think he's the biggest question mark, right? And he's the only person, if I pull up the Magic spreadsheet again, Toronto Defiant, Beast, they don't have any depth at tank right now. And obviously we're going to ask Baroy, be like, can we expect anything else here? They have no depth there. That's a huge risk to be putting on a 19-year-old player, given he was, he's coming from Fusion University, which is a team that, has 1-1, but he's been playing with excellent players. Alarm, who are you? Bernard. Like, these are really great, excellent players. I'm not saying that Beast was dragging them down, but when you watch that team, you weren't like, yeah, but Beast Halo, bro. Like, yeah. So you've got that there. I don't love that main tank pick. But I was actually thinking about it, like, who do I replace with Beast, right? Considering that you probably want at least a bilingual tank, but probably a Western tank. So you've got Fraggy, 29. I don't think Fraggy is coming back. Fact Fiction, 26. Numlocks at 26. Sherrick, maybe, but they just let him go. So, like, obviously, I don't think Sherrick's coming back. Yeah. Janice was somebody who was like, would it be interesting if we had Janice in here? I don't think so. They'll probably sell some jerseys again. Beast is probably the right tank pick, right?
Even if he's like middle of the pack, I think it's the role that has the least talent development in it, and it's probably the thinnest role in terms of talent. So it's like, if you had like a budget breakdown, you want to be spending, I think, all of your budget in creating or signing a all-star solid main tank. Is Beast that character? We don't know. He hasn't played in a very long time. But even if, worst case scenario, he's like middle of the pack, I think that's fine for this roster. I don't think they're like aiming for the stars with it.
Joe, you tell me that he could, like, I think my mind would be blown if he was middle of the pack.
You don't think it's a possibility?
For starting tanks, me too.
Really?
If you include the non-starting tanks, I think he's middle of the pack.
Yeah, sure. No,
starting tanks, he's got to be bottom 6. He's got to be bottom 6.
Something like this.
The saving grace to my argument is that we just haven't seen him, right? If we saw him, optimism. Then I'd be able to say,
just optimism.
Yeah, we didn't see him because Chonksik played ahead of him. Like, man, that doesn't inspire confidence. It's yeah, of course, we cannot say a lot, and we can only talk about the things that that we do know. I think it's encouraging that he is one of the louder voices on the team in comms, as talked about by Logix in a clip. But yeah, my mind would be blown. I think like there's so many middle of the pack team tanks that I would clearly project to be over him, and I don't even think main tank is that weak this season.
You don't think so?
No. Like, it doesn't feel like there are many strong main tanks other than Bumper, like outside the league, right?
Yeah, that's why I think it's like a thin, like it's hard to be able to sign like a good main tank.
Okay, it's hard. So it's just thin. There are not 20 players in the world that could have elite aspirations, you're saying?
Yeah. No, like I don't think there's like a ton of just star talent. Like if we were
all
judging
have elite aspirations, but
of course, sure, of course. I just don't think they have like elite potential. Totally.
Yeah.
Like if we were to judge like support DPS tank, like on who has like the depth of talent, I think tank's probably the lowest. Low supply would be a good way to put it. Thank you, Eric. Yeah, it's probably where I'd be putting a lot of my budget personally is main tank, and then a star DPS.
I would still love to see depth there, and honestly, I would go like the NFL route where you have this young quarterback who's carrying your franchise, and then you bring in some old 40-year-old geezer who's been in the league for 18 years and just, has like that veteran presence and whatever. And like, I think you could do that with a lot of different main tanks and never actually have to play them. But I'm worried about how Beast is going to grow in the role. I'm worried about his ability to, if we do get another meta that's initiated by a main tank, Can he perform at that? I don't know if he can. And the lack of depth there, I think, is really concerning. And
totally. Yeah, I think I stick to my guns that I said, pre-power rankings. Like I wanted to see teams build out like a main tank stable, like a bullpen, where you're either having depth at main tank or you're building up somebody who's like on a two-way in your contenders team that like has some serious oomph to him.
Sure,
that's just either underage, this, that, the other thing. We've got Paris Academy in the news signing Muse, somebody who I'm very, very high on. Mag still on the table over in Runaway in Korea. Like there are some like talented main tanks that are underage that people haven't necessarily pulled the trigger on. Obviously Muse has been, but Mag's probably the big one that everybody's like, where is he going to go? Where is he going to go? Hasn't gone anywhere yet. So I think that's probably a misplay, but I agree. Like we don't know exactly what we're going to get from Beast. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say, because we haven't seen him, I'm not going to like knock him. I'm not going to knock the team for signing him. Definitely leaves open a question, but I will say that like 14 and 13 were very tough, and 13 made moves to put them over, but I had my 13th at 14 at one point.
Yeah.
Fair. And honestly, I think that like 14 to 11, I think were maybe the hardest.
I think we've done it in a really good way where each 5 of these chunks can be very interchangeable. Yeah. Like I could see 15 being at 11. I can see 11 being at 15.
It's a whole tier.
It's just.
Can we talk about
it's a game inches?
Can we talk about the support line though? I mean, you've got Kareev, who
Roll Star, by the way.
Roll Star. I would say at least I think you kind of know what to expect from Kareev. I think at least, but I would say
2
that
sleep slots this season. Yeah,
right. Playing DPS.
They are very good though. Those are some excellent sleep dots.
So, but I think Kellex for me is one of like super underwhelming. I think he was underwhelming in Boston. I think he actually played really well in World Cup, which I thought was like refreshing. But
I think
I don't know. I thought he was just in like
the
Boston waiting room last season for whatever he did play. I don't know, man. So
I think people got sold a small like. I think there was problems in Boston that were pretty apparent if you just kind of pay attention to their support line. Like AimGod and Kellex never played together. Why is that? I don't know. You tell me. I think from that I'm gonna speculate and say there was some drama behind the scenes. Could be. I have no idea. I have my ways to think about teams. I said what I said about Houston last season. I think there was some problems. That's why you didn't necessarily see him perform all that well. You saw him at World Cup perform very well. I think he's going to be a solid main support. I don't think he's going to like blow anybody's pants off, but I don't think he'll be as underwhelming as people expect him to.
I don't agree. I'm not on the Calyx bandwagon at all. At all.
I don't think he's going to carry. I don't think he's like top 5 by any means, but I don't think he'll be like a detriment.
But I
don't think
would
he'll be a
say his height is 13. Like this team.
I mean, yeah, I don't think I'd
bottom third. He's a bottom third main support.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think what we will observe anyway, due to many factors, is a convergence towards the middle. I think we'll not have as many terrible, like super bad, like 0 wins, 0 to 6 wins.
Hopefully.
Anymore. And I think we will not have as many clearly playoff level teams.
Just
like
kind of good, right?
I mean, for you parity-loving Americans, yeah, you socialists.
I just want to see like decent
good competition.
Games.
How many times did we? No, not even we. You, Yiska, complain about how many bad matches there were last year.
I mean,
how many
that's
times?
due to the tournament format, but I love a good stomping.
Do you?
I mean, I love a good stomping too, but I mean, what? Like, this is probably slightly over, but 50% of the games being a complete stomping, you know, like that was last season.
Nobody enjoys
what we
bye
get
weeks.
This season is just a lot of close games. As long as the gameplay isn't clearly mediocre.
That's the concern.
That's the worry. I would agree with that. With how much travel we assume is going to impact things, and we've talked about this.
The worry, even in season 2, right? We discussed it multiple times about how 1/3 of the contenders teams are better than the Overwatch League teams.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. So I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what
it's only getting harder to be a professional in this game. Like it's very difficult to be at the top.
It's getting harder to not get flamed on tactical crouch if you don't play well, I think is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, sure.
Yiska's coming.
Yeah.
Yiska's coming for you. Can we also talk about though the DPS? Because I think Surefour has proven himself at least to be able to perform and stay relevant. But obviously Logic is an incredibly emotional and very rocky player, I would say.
Totally.
I don't know how a player like that stays game ready in the zone when he's traveling now. I don't think that probably helps his case.
Nope.
To be fair,
Mangachu's 2-way, so we don't know how much we expect to see him. To be fair, go ahead.
To be fair, I feel like Logic's just step from one mess into the next, and he isn't the reason why messes happen. I don't think. He also isn't the one that resolves them. So it's sort of shaken by the seas. And I think if he ever gets into a stable team, then his performance will stabilize too.
Totally.
Waiting to see it.
Agree.
Waiting to see it. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't think I agree. I don't think I agree. I think that's a great sounding sentiment, but I feel like
true. No, that's totally fair at this point in his career.
It's been years. It's been years. And I want him to, and I don't think we're getting Tracer back. So maybe we are. So, I don't know what to expect from him. I think it's a good thing. This is where they have the depth, though. Right? Especially with Mangachu as a 2-way. Like, if they actually need it. Agilities, I think, is going to be fine. But I don't know, man. This kind of seems like Surefour's team.
Oh yeah, 100%.
This is what it seems like.
This is Surefour and Defiant.
Yes.
100%.
Fair call out by former coach of Logix.
Dream and chat
saying that he disagrees that Logix is overly emotional and that he was generally mega professional and focused and calm the entire time he coached him. Yeah, I like it's hard to. I'm not sure how much fluctuation Vanori think it he had. Of course he didn't play the entire time in his former teams.
Totally.
We know Mayhem wasn't a great environment at the time with all the rider stuff and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Last season, I think he had his moments, right? Like, I don't know what
thing. I think
what kind of consistency you can expect from someone on a bottom team.
Yes, I think
he is not Corey. Let's say that.
Well, he can be. That's the thing. It's consistency with Logix. As if
that's what he's saying. He's saying Corey was consistent even on a poorly performing team.
At least
exactly.
on DPS. Not on
Zarya. Not on Zarya.
Right.
Not on Zarya. I'm what I'm saying is that
also
like
not as impactful.
You can get the same impact with Logix, but just in waves. Corey's completely the more consistent one, but Logix can meet him on any given day. It's just kind of a dice roll, and
I just think he meets him at the wrong time, and that's what makes Logix so volatile. It's like, yes, he has these highs, but it's not when stakes are high. It's not when they need him to be the clutch. It's when they're either having a good round. They're already they maybe had a couple good series of games or whatever, and Logix is on, and we're probably a little chicken and the egg there on. Does Logix playing good make the team play better, or is the team playing well enable Logix to be able to?
Yes.
The truth is probably a lot
Same
of
for
both.
Corey as well.
But the fact remains still is that he just hasn't shown the consistency in performance. And Dream may be right. I may have said over emotional, and maybe it was I'm thinking more of like slugging percentage of. When the viewpoint is on him, when it's on him to make a play, we don't see it, and that's where I go. I don't get it here.
Makes sense.
But yeah, I think we haven't talked a ton about agilities, but I mean, I think
it's so hard for me to talk about him. Yeah, I don't think I think he's like a poster child of the team. I don't think he'll be like a star. Like maybe Farah seeing a good amount of play as Hanzo like wasn't all that great in season 1 if I remember correctly, but that was on like a weak patch, like coming into a brand new patch, like maybe there was a transitional difficulty, didn't pick it up, the team wasn't on the same page with it. I don't know, he's never really impressed me all that much. I really don't see what people see in him. This is a player who I'm like, doesn't meet expectations that everybody kind of keeps putting on him, and could be like towards the bottom half of the league.
It's sometimes very interesting. Like, I wonder how much that's the case with him. And caveat, I have no idea. I know though that certain players have an unpredictable draw towards a certain fan base. And what I mean by that is like, so for instance, Mickey brings a huge amount of fans to Dallas Fuel.
Of course. But that makes sense though. Like you can understand like how you might become a fan of Mickey.
And then Cruz with Koreans because he, like Apex and like learning Korean and being in the Korean solo queue environment and messing with them and having fat YouTube channels with a lot of Korean followers. That happens. With agilities, it is interestingly China.
Yeah, weirdly enough.
I was told that it has something to do with his looks that they just consider like to be quite attractive or whatever. Very weird to me. No, not like he isn't a good looking kid.
Yeah,
but it's interesting how that fandom works that way. And maybe, of course, he's also a Canadian boy, so makes sense there. He's also, I don't think he's like a player that you expect to not see at all, right? I think there's definitely scenarios where he will play over the season. If I were to predict, I think it's more like, I think we will see more of agilities than of Sebiolbi, for instance.
You think so?
Maybe, yeah.
I think
pure play time.
Not to bleed into NYXL talk, but I think Sebiolbi, because he's so pivotal in that team's communication, I think with 222, he's probably going to see a lot more play. Now that teams are really starting to settle into this, and he can have a clear like entry into the team, I think they're going to play a lot with Sebiolbi, personally.
I don't know who else the Defiant really have to play, so I don't know.
I mean, it's just short for agilities, logics, right? Like that's the DPS line.
Surefour is a constant, and then you rotate depending on the meta and who's performing.
Yes.
Yep.
And of course, Surefour could theoretically play both archetypes of heroes,
totally,
depending on the hero. So we'll see.
100%.